Hey, how's it going, party people? Mincho here, back at it once again with another video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today, it is finally time to talk about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yes, I know, it has been a little while since my last video. This is the reason why. This is legit the reason why I have not made a video in a while. This game has a hold on me. It truly does, and I'm just gonna go and say this right now. It's one of the better games I've played in my life. And I could say that with a straight face. I could say that seriously, and I don't. It's amazing. It is a special kind of game. And yeah, with this video, I'm going to be talking about all of my favorite things about the game, including some things I might not like. So yeah, and I'm not going to be getting into any spoilers. I'm not going to be talking much about the overall narrative. I might mention a couple things here or there. None of them are really spoiler worthy or anything like that, so this is a spoiler free discussion. Also, keep in mind that I did record a long, I think it was at least an hour long discussion with Phenom Sage, but I lost the audio to that, my audio to that, so we had to scrap the whole thing, and yeah, it kind of hurt me. So that's why I'm doing this alone now. So let's just get started with the Zelda discussion. First things first, I already said it, this game is awesome. It is so good, and one of my favorite parts about the game is the overall open world. I love how vast everything is. I love how there's not really any limits. I mean, we've seen games like that have always promised this type of open world where it's like, you see that mountain in the distance? Yeah, you can go up there. We've seen that kind of stuff with Skyrim and Fallout and Witcher. Like we've seen that type of open world promised to us, and for the most part achieved. But with this game, it's a different case because the way you climb up that mountain is totally different than what you would do in Skyrim. Because like in Skyrim, there's a path, like a road that would lead up around the mountain, and then you can get to the top. Or you could like glitch the game and just keep tapping the jump button to get up the cliff and just tap it and kind of break the game a little bit to get to the end of the peak. Yeah, like that's fun, and it's kind of fun to play around with the game like that. But this offers you the ability to climb objects, and you can pretty much climb anything, including rocks and including, you know, gates and towers. And being able to do that adds a new sense of freedom to it because, yes, I really can climb to the top of that mountain. It's not just me glitching the game up. No, I legit can climb to the very top of this cliff and experience what's down below. And I like that. I really do. I think the climbing in this game adds just a very, very special touch when it comes to the overall traversal. And that's something that I'm going to be mentioning a lot, is the traversal in this game. I've never seen an open world game have this great of traversal. I mean, Just Cause 3 comes close, but this game still finds a way just to make the traversal even more interesting. So when you climb at the top of a tower or at the top of a cliff, you are heavily rewarded, not only with the beautiful vista that lies before you, like when you climb up one of the towers that, you know, so in the game there's all these towers scattered around the world, and you climb up the top of them, and then you can unlock some of the map as you get to the top because you can see what's down below. Those views are absolutely spectacular, but that's not the only reward. The second reward, and one of the best parts about the entire open world itself, is being able to jump off these towers, being able to jump off of these cliffs, and being able to glide down with your paraglider, and being able to traverse even faster than what you normally would. So you could climb up this cliff or climb up this tower, scan down below with your Sheikah scope, and be able to find out, you know, where the next shrine is, or where the next tower is, or where's Hyrule Castle, where's this bridge I was looking for, are there guardians nearby? Being able to survey the area and being able to jump off and paraglide down to where you need to go is just an excellent way of traveling. It's an excellent way of just experiencing this open world. So that's absolutely one of my favorite parts. I think that the overall climbing in the game works really well too. Being able to have the stamina bar adds just the perfect limitation to the climbing. I think without it, it would be ridiculous. I think if it was any worse, it would be like, ugh. I think it adds that perfect limitation that just makes the climbing all worthwhile and makes those choices on whether you want a heart or an extra piece of stamina quite difficult. It really does, unless you're looking for a certain sword. Yeah. Next is, you know, again, I could keep going on about the open world and how vast it is, but another great part about the open world is not only its size, it's it's the varying types of environments that are in the open world. Now, I remember telling this to Phenom Sage. Phenom Sage is another YouTuber that I like to have discussions with, my friend Matthew. I was telling this to him, and basically, I remember starting the game on the Great Plateau. This is where the beginning of the game takes place, and you can't get off the Great Plateau until you do a certain quest, and it's a couple hours. You know, if you're taking your time, it'll take you a couple hours to get off the plateau, maybe an hour and a half at the very most. And when you get off, you have, you know, you're free now. Like, think of the plateau as like a sort of tutorial. You are free to explore everywhere after you get off the plateau, which is awesome. And I remember getting off the plateau and just exploring, and I remember a couple of hours later, you know, I in the beginning I was in, you know, the woods, you know, exploring, you know, these woodland type areas with, you know, big pine trees, and it was snowing in certain areas. It was very, very woodsy. And a couple of hours later, I was stuck on an island, you know, 90 degrees, sun bearing down on my back, with crabs and other island-like enemies nearby. And I think that kind of varying environment is incredible. And having it so beautifully dispersed throughout the world is even better. I haven't even seen the desert yet. I have not been to, like, Garuda or anything like that. I haven't seen that environment yet. And it's because I love this open world so much that I've been exploring it so slowly. I've been playing this game. I put almost 50 hours already into this game, and I know that's not very much compared to what most people have already played, because, you know, I have a full-time job and you know, other things that I have to do. But I've already put 50 hours in the game, and I don't even feel a slight bit complete with it. I don't even feel... I feel like I'm still learning things in this world, and I truly am. I truly am. Literally, like, a couple of days ago, I just found out, oh my god, you can upgrade your Sheikah runes. And we'll get onto the Sheikah runes in just a bit, but you can upgrade stuff that I didn't even realize could be upgraded. You could talk to people that I didn't realize, you know, had a quest that it was attached to them, or had an interesting fact to say. Like, there's so many different things. I didn't even know that once when you beat a divine beast, there is a certain ability that you achieve. And it changes the entire traversal system. It changes the way you play the game. And it's amazing. It truly is. And I absolutely love it. I think that having that there is fantastic, and having those varying environments, having the ability to at one time be in a forest, you know, full of foxes and hogs and bokolins, to being on an island full of, you know, these rock monsters and sand and the sun shining down is crazy. And I haven't even seen the rest yet. I haven't even seen what else this world has in store. I mean, there's a volcano there that I haven't even fully explored. I've been down there, but it's so crazy different. But just below the volcano, you have the Lost Woods, and it's completely different. And it's not even just the varying environment, it's the way you explore that environment too, because you can expect, if you're climbing near a volcano, it's going to be, you know, kind of like a canyon-y type of area where you're going to be, you know, climbing a lot. It's going to be kind of hard just to be walking around. There's going to be a lot of climbing of cliffs, and that's what you kind of expect from that type of environment. But when you go to, like, say, the Lost Woods, now I'm not going to spoil anything on what's in the Lost Woods, but it is woods. There's a lot of trees everywhere, and there's, like, not much that type of traversal that you're used to in the world. It's more close, confined, and you're, like, kind of lost in a way. So it's a completely type of different exploring element there being at play, and I love that. And it's not even just with those two environments, it's with every environment that's in the game. You know, whether you're just exploring the plains where you can have a horse, or you're exploring a ravine where you're climbing the sides of a cliff, or on a boat. You can even get on a boat and sail it with a korok leaf, and it's amazing. It is absolutely awesome. Seeing islands in the distance and being able to sail over there is just, it's like it's the open world game that I've dreamt of for so long. I've wanted a game like this for so long, where I can pretty much go anywhere, and it feels like I can go anywhere. It feels like the world is just, it's so big. It is so big. And I don't think it is the biggest open world game I've ever played. I'm not sure how it compares to, like, other titles like The Witcher 3 or Fallout 4 or Skyrim. I'm not sure how big the world is in that sense, but I know it feels bigger. It feels bigger than all of those games, and that's a magical feeling. It truly is. And it might not be. I'm not sure. I'll have to end up watching some comparisons. I'm sure it isn't. I'm sure it's actually smaller than some of these other open world games that I've played. But as I mentioned, it feels so much bigger because it's not only large in width, it's also large in density and in height, because there's just so much in this world. There's so many cliffs and turns and you know, ravines and caves and underwater areas and, you know, deserts that would sink down, and there's, you know, a huge volcano that you can climb up. It's very, very dense and very, very tall, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, that's what I love about this world. You know, I love the different enemies. I love the different environments. I love just the different villages that you come across, and the villages are really well done as well. Like Kakariko is really cool, being able to go there and kind of have this like almost like Asian type of city vibe, like kind of like an old, you know, ancient samurai town that you would see like in, you know, in other titles or in other Zelda games, yeah. And then you can find Hoteno Village, which isn't too much further away from Kakariko, and Hoteno feels like a more European type of town. You know, there's like sheep that are being herded, and it reminds you of like a classic, you know, sword and, you know, shield type of story. But yeah, like I said, it's just two varying different towns that have different things to offer, and it was really interesting. And I haven't even seen the rest of the towns yet either. I mean, I was in Rito Village, and Rito Village is, again, completely different than the rest of the place. Like, it's so different than the other villages that are at your disposal. So again, it's massive. I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, and I think I need to stop talking about the world. It's a very, very big game. I think that's all I can say. Something else I really like about the game, and something that a lot of people have been kind of a little skeptical on, is the combat. Now, they're not necessarily skeptical on the combat. Now, the combat is really, really intuitive, and it works really, really well. But something that people have been complaining a lot about is weapon durability. This has been making a lot of people upset, the fact that you can break your weapons on the game. The weapons don't last very long. You pick up a sword, you kill, you know, 5 or 6 enemies, that sword is done. It is broken, and you have to find another one. Now, I like this gameplay element. I do. I think it adds to the overall survival aspect to the game. I think it makes sense on why to pick up things, because I feel like that if your sword did last a long time, there would be no reason to pick up anything. There'd be no reason, because I remember in other Zelda titles, you were only really using like 2 swords throughout the entire game. The one you started with, and then the Master Sword. That was how the game just went. You'd either use that sword or this sword, and maybe you'll pick up like a spear or something along the road there. But in this, there's so many different weapons, and I feel like that if the weapons didn't break, you wouldn't necessarily want to explore other types of weaponry that you can use in combat. And I think that, like, even with a game like Skyrim, I remember Phenom Sage saying this. In Skyrim, he found himself, me too, I found myself only using one sword or one type of weapon throughout the game. You're playing through the game, you go to the Draugr, you know, dungeon or whatever, and then you pick up a sword, you use it, you're gonna use that sword until you find one that's stronger, and that's it. That's it. You use that sword until you find one that's stronger, because you can repair it. It doesn't ever break. It has an infinite lifespan, and you just use it until you grow 5 levels, and then you get the next big thing. And it's not like that in this game. This game, it's rare that you see new weapons, but, I mean, there's weapons everywhere. But, like, cool, you can find really cool weapons in this game. Like, there's some things that I'm still surprised by when I open a chest in a shrine. Like, when I open a chest in there and I see, oh my goodness, like, what is this new type of spear that I can use? An ancient arrow I just recently found, and that was extremely exciting. I love it. I love that the weapons have a durability, and I love it when they break. It adds a sense of challenge and a sense of survival to the overall combat, and it works to me. I do get some people's complaints, but a lot of people have just been rallying on, like, Jim Sterling and other reviewers that have been complaining about this, and a lot of these people haven't even played the game per se, and that's kind of disappointing to me. But again, I like the aspect of the durability. I think, again, it just adds to the overall the sense of wonderment, the sense of exploration to the game. Like, yes, your sword broke, go get another one. You're gonna have to find another one unless you don't really want to live. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, and weapons are dropped constantly by Bokoblins and Lizalfos and other types of enemies. They're dropped constantly. Almost every enemy you defeat drops either a bow and arrow, or a sword, or a club, an axe, or something along those lines. You will find weapons constantly. There's no shortage of weapons in this game. But again, the overall combat itself is extremely fun and quite difficult to a very pleasantly difficult. It is pleasantly difficult. I love just how you dodge your attacks and how you can parry and use your shield as a counter. Everything flows really well. It's not extremely complicated and it's not extremely difficult. It works. It's very serviceable. It's the best combat I've ever seen in a Zelda game for sure. And it is deep to a certain extent, but it doesn't feel deep. It feels very easy to get a grasp of and easy to understand, but then when you slowly start playing the game and realize, oh wow, like I need to parry these attacks, I need to practice, like I need to learn how to parry these certain attacks, I need to learn how to dodge and use my flurry, like I need to learn how to do these things or I'm going to die later. Like I am going to die if I don't learn how to do these types of attacks. So yes, I did learn, and it is a very fun experience on learning how to do these types of things. You know, practicing on Bokoblins and just waiting for their attack and then, you know, countering with my shield. It is very fun, and it's so satisfying when you hear that sound, when you hit your shield off their weapon like that and you are able to do that flurry of attacks. It works. The combat is excellent, and using a bow is really fun as well. Being able to jump off of something, hopping into your paraglider, then hopping out, and then going into slow motion with your bow is extremely awesome. It is so cool being able to do that. I absolutely love it. I love just that slow motion. I love quickly aiming when you're fighting certain bosses, when you have to aim to like a specific area of their body, like an eye or something along those lines. It's super tense because you're like, where's the spot that I have to hit? Like you're trying to find it, and it's just like your stamina is going down pretty fast actually, and you're like, oh my god, like it just adds to the intensity of combat. It truly does, and being able to do that as a sneak attack, being able to do that with bomb arrows, it's awesome. I love the archery in this game. It really works. Something else that I forgot to mention, another type of gameplay that's at hand here is puzzle solving. So there are, I can't remember how many, I think over like 120, I believe, of these shrines that are scattered throughout Hyrule. Now these shrines act as waypoints that you can fast travel to, and they're also ways that you can find treasure and ways that you can unlock spirit orbs. And now if you finish 4 shrines, you get 4 spirit orbs, and when you get 4 spirit orbs, you can either choose between unlocking a heart or unlocking another piece of stamina, which would make you be able to climb and run longer. So these are scattered throughout the world, and I like them. I really do. And I've heard some complaints where they're like, oh, it's kind of feels a little jarring and disjointed from the overall world. And I disagree. I think it's a fantastic break from the wild. I didn't want to say that, but it really is. Like, it's just a break from the overall intensity of the game. It kind of, you feel safe. You kind of feel safe in these shrines, and you're like, okay, I can relax and just figure out this puzzle now and just use my brain and not have to, you know, tap this button to run away from somebody or something along those lines. And you will be running away from enemies quite a lot in this game, by the way. But these shrines just act as a safe haven to solve a puzzle or to, you know, get something to point A to point B. Or sometimes you will have to fight an enemy, but the fact that if you die, you just start over at the beginning of the shrine, you feel kind of safe in a way. It's just a little challenge that's moderated by a spawn point, and it works. Some of the shrines are super easy. Some of them are super hard. And I like that varying degree of difficulty. There's been some shrines where I've been inside and haven't been able to solve them, so I left. And I've returned to them later on in the game, and I have solved them. I'm going to give one example of one of the shrines. It was called 5 Flames. In this one, there was basically this giant cube floating in the air with 5 torches on each side of it. And there was one side that was shooting out water like a spout. And you had to hit this other object that was like, you know, maybe 10-20 feet away from the giant cube, and it would spin the thing. You know, there's water below it, and the water would burn out the torches as it would turn over. The torches would be submerged, and you had to find a way to transfer the fire to all 5 of the torches, the 5 flames. Yeah, I spent 30 minutes trying to figure how to do this. Like, I could not figure out how to do this puzzle. And I know there is a correct way to do it, but I left the shrine and then I returned back later on and I realized, hang on a second, can I really do this? So in the game, I went to my inventory, I held out some wood, and I held out some flint, dropped it on the ground, I hit the flint, the wood lit on fire, I started a campfire. Then I got my bow out, held it out, lit my arrows on fire, and just shot each of the torches to light all the 5 flames. And then, sure enough, the door unlocked and I could solve the shrine. And a little bit of a spoiler there for those of you that haven't done the shrine yet. I guess, yeah, you could do it that way too. It was awesome. It was so awesome being able to play the game that way, being able to solve a puzzle that way. One more shrine that I'll spoil for you, but I'm sure that you've already seen it, is it's one of the earlier shrines of the game where there's like a physics puzzle where you are moving this ball around on this like this motion controlled platform, and it's like a little maze that you have to go through. I remember there was a puzzle similar to this in Twilight Princess as well. There's like a little mini game where you're just like moving the Wii remote around and it's moving this table around, and there's like a maze on the table. That's basically it, except it's like your Joy-Cons or whatever, or your controller. And it's really, really fun, but it's really, really hard to get the ball through this maze. Something that you can do is just turn your controller upside down, and then the ball will spawn on a flat platform, which is the backward side of the table that you've been floating around, and you can just swoop it right over and get the puzzle done right there. And it blew my mind! I was like, no way! You can actually solve the puzzle that way. There's no one way to solve a puzzle. There's multiple things that you can do, and that just adds to the overall emergent gameplay that I was mentioning earlier. And it adds to why I really, really like this game. Being able to do that, being able to solve puzzles multiple ways, being able to traverse around the world in multiple ways, being able to take on enemies in multiple ways, really adds to the overall freedom. It truly does, and I love it. I really do. I absolutely love it. Let's just talk about some other mechanics that are at play here. We have the Sheikah runes. The Sheikah runes are awesome. I think they add so much to the game. I thought they'd make you feel a little OP. They really don't. I think that was a lot of people's concerns when we first were seeing them in some of the E3 stuff. But no. They do not make you feel OP at all. This game is still very difficult, regardless if you have your Sheikah bombs or not. So yeah, your Sheikah runes, there's your bombs, obviously. There's circular bombs, and then there is cubed bombs. One rolls down, one, doesn't really roll at all. And you can throw these, you can place them down, and you can self-detonate them. Really, really fun to play with. I feel like it's the one I use the most when it comes to attacking enemy camps, destroying, certain little, outposts and everything. They're pretty useful, especially when you upgrade them. When you can upgrade these bombs, do it, because the regeneration of them is so much faster, and they have so much more pushback, and it is very useful. Next is, I'm not going in a specific order, next is Stasis. Now, Stasis adds this ability to freeze objects, and yeah, they're frozen. They will not move. So if you see like a platform that's moving back and forth pretty fast and you can't find a way to jump onto it, just freeze it with Stasis right as it's coming to you, and then as it'll be frozen, I think it's like 10 seconds maybe it's frozen, and then it'll unfreeze and then it'll move again. Something else you can do with this though is such an interesting factor to the game. It's just such an awesome aspect to the game, is being able to freeze objects and then hit them with your sword or an axe, and then it basically points this little arrow towards on where the momentum is going, because it's a frozen object. It won't move. It's frozen in time, but you're still adding that momentum to the frozen object, so when it unfreezes, it'll move forward at an immense rate. Like, I mean, it depends on how many times you hit it, but if you really pound the thing, if you really hit it with your axe, it'll turn red, and then when it unfreezes, it'll blast upwards or blast forward. Now, there's so many things that you can do with this, though. One of my favorite things to do is being able to hit certain objects like barrels to enemy camps that would hit other things like exploding barrels and destroy their camps, and I just love it. Then there's the ice, where you can literally just like make ice platforms in I think it's called cryogenis or something like that. You can make like ice platforms that come out of nowhere, out of the ground. Only in water though. You can only do it in water, but you can also do it to like waterfalls and stuff in some of the shrines, and those work really well. And there's also magnesis. Now this one you can float magnetic objects, and this one works really well for retrieving treasure that's underwater, weapons that you can find underwater, or you can also float up these metal boxes and drop them above enemies. It's really useful. I think that when you realize what you could do with these runes, it makes the game a lot more fun, and you don't have to. It doesn't force you to use these runes. I mean, in certain puzzles you're going to have to, but it doesn't force you to use these in the overall game. But if you choose to, I think you're gonna find a more pleasant experience. I truly do. If you find a way to use your magnesis and float these metal boxes over enemies and drop them on them, or just slam them against, or create like a barrier for you, or use your bombs, or use ice, I think you're gonna find a more pleasant experience. I truly do. I think that it adds to the game a lot. So yeah, I recommend it. I do. My goodness, what else is there to talk about? We are going on almost 25, almost 30 minutes now. I love this game. I really do. I think the overall gameplay is spectacular. I think it's easily the best Zelda game I've ever played. Probably the best open world game I've ever played. And it's definitely one of the best games I've ever played in quite some time. I can't remember having this much fun with the game and playing a game this much and still feeling like I'm learning things. I think that actually is the best part about this game, and I think that it goes with the overall theme of the game. I remember E.G. Aonuma and Shigeru Miyamoto mentioning in interviews during E3 and you know past stuff at Nintendo events, saying that yes, we are trying to capture the essence of what the original Zelda game for the NES stood for, and that is exploration. That is us just putting you in this world and not holding your hand. You figure it out. And it really is that game. I mean, as the game starts, there really isn't anything telling you what to do. I mean, there's certain arrows here and there, but for the most part, you are figuring out this world, and sometimes it's not easy, and sometimes it is. But regardless, it's relying on the player, on yourself, to figure it out. And I think that is my favorite part about this game. I think that a lot of games today really take away this mystery from the player, really take away the overall aspect of exploration, because most games, when you start an open world game, the map is already there. Like in Witcher, when you start up Witcher, you see where all the towns are, you see where all the mountains are, you know what the map looks like already. This game, not really. You have to really actually try hard to get these maps explored. You have to climb up these giant towers and download the data on your Sheikah slate, and it works. But, in other titles, you don't have to do that. You have everything already explored pretty much for you. Now, in Fallout and other titles, you won't have all the specific locations there, but for the most part, the whole map is already there for you. You can see where certain objects are and see where certain towns are. And that's kind of disappointing to me, especially for games like Fallout. I want that survival aspect to be there. I want that sense of exploration to be there, and the fact that Zelda does it so beautifully is wonderful. And again, it goes back to the original theme that they originally said that was going to be in this game, is we are trying to harken back to the good old days of Zelda. And it's not even just in the exploration, it's in the overall gameplay as well. There's certain things that you can do that I found out on my own, the game didn't tell me. Now, I knew originally that you could shield surf, you could use your shield as a snowboard and slide down mountains and stuff, and it's awesome. But they didn't tell me how to do that. I'm sure there's a part in the game where somebody mentions it, but I had to figure it out on my own. I remember I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not even going to mention how to do it. I figured out how to do it. It seems a little bit obvious on how you do it, and it works. It really works. And it makes you, it rewards you. It rewards you. I love being able to play a game that rewards me for figuring things out on my own and not having an NPC or some text on the screen telling me which way to go. It rewards you for exploration, and I think having that reward just makes the game so special, and it reminds me of why I love video games. It reminds me of the classic days of just playing PS1 games, just jumping into a game. Go. That's all the game tells you to do. Just go here. Go there. Go here. Talk to this person. There's not any specific oh, press X to do this, or press circle to duck and then you can crawl under this. No. I didn't even realize that you could crawl under things on this game until recently. If you duck down, that's not just for sneaking. You could literally go under objects that you wouldn't normally be able to go under. And that's awesome. There's so many instances like that. This game truly is the Zelda that they promised, that Aonuma promised, that Miyamoto promised, that Nintendo promised. And it's spectacular. It's one of the best games that Nintendo has ever produced, and it is a fantastic system seller. The game is playable on the Wii U, and it works quite well on the Wii U. But I mean, if you bought a Switch, this is what you're going to be playing. It is an awesome game for the Nintendo Switch, and it's what it makes me have hope in Nintendo. It truly does. Because they are finally embracing new types of game conventions, like an open world title, like having this kind of exploration, that emergent gameplay. That's something that Nintendo hasn't really done. But yet then again, they haven't they? I remember somebody posting on Twitter saying that, like, oh, looks like Zelda borrowed a lot from Dark Souls 3 or something like that. Someone posted on Twitter, like, it was commenting or retweeting one of Zelda's Nintendo's post about the game that was like, in Zelda your weapons are gonna break and you can find more, and it was like, oh, you're stealing from Dark Souls 3 here. And then Dark Souls 3, their Twitter account literally replied to that guy saying that, and they said, well, to be honest, we all borrowed a little bit from Nintendo at one point. And it's true. I say that this is the first time Nintendo's ever done an emergent type of game like this, this type of open world, but it really isn't. They did it 30 years ago with the original Legend of Zelda game. This is just that image, this is that theme, that message being transformed into a modern game. And I think that is the reason why this game is so spectacular. It is the promise of what Zelda is meant to be. It is the natural evolution of what Zelda is supposed to be. And it works so beautifully. There's just so much finesse. There's so much. It's elegant. The game runs perfectly. There's no. I mean, I haven't run into any glitches. There's minor frame rate issues here or there. Overall, the game runs smoothly, and you could see all of the hard work, all the 400 plus staff members that worked on this game. The 4 years of work, maybe even more, 5-6 years of work that was put into this game. You see every ounce of that. And I'm not going to crap on other open world games and say, oh, in Fallout there's glitches here and there, game-breaking bugs. In Witcher, it's practically unplayable on console. I'm not going to say that because I enjoy those games on console, and I mean the glitches are terrible, but I still play the games anyway. But it's nice to have a game that doesn't necessarily have those problems. It's nice to play a game that has just this sense of oh my goodness, I don't even know the right word. This sense of just hard work. You can see the hard work that was put into this game. And I like that. Not that you don't see that in other games, but this game, you really see the hard work put into this game. Like, they've really thought of every little aspect. Like, just everything. Like, of course I can just light my arrows on fire and shoot these things. Of course I can just light this stick on fire and burn this tree down. Of course I can chop a tree down and make a bridge. Of course I can climb up this mountain and drop bombs down below to destroy an enemy camp. Like, there's just so many things like that. Of course, I could shoot down this rope that, has a torch hanging on it and then would drop down below and destroy these barrels below them and kill all of the bokoblins by this camp. Like, that type of emergent gameplay it's breathtaking. Anyway, I think that's it for my discussion. It has been a few minutes. And, yeah, there's so much more I could say. I could go into more details, like the music. The music is so good in this game. The cinematics, like, I didn't want to dip into story stuff, but the story is really good as well. Me and Phenom Sage are going to do a more proper discussion on this game, talking about the overall, like a spoiler discussion. We're going to talk about the story and stuff like that as soon as I beat the damn game. I'm 50 hours in, and I don't even feel halfway done, so I've still got some time to go. But yeah, share me your thoughts on this game. Comment down below and give me your thoughts on The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Is it as amazing as I'm claiming it to be? Is it the Nintendo saver? Is it a great game? Comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Is it a terrible game? You tell me down below. And also hit that like button if you enjoyed anything that I had to talk about today. I greatly appreciate it, and it helps people find this video in their, suggestions and stuff. So yeah. That's awesome if you could do that. And also, please be sure to subscribe for more Nintendo and gaming content, as well as anime stuff in the future. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.